So my name is Matleena Kniivilä and I'm a group manager and senior scientist in Luke. And I'm going to talk about the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic on forest sector in Europe and actually especially in Finland. And you can change the slide. So maybe I start with some basic facts of Finnish forest sector. Many of you know Finnish forest sector very well. But anyway, it's good to remind that the Finnish forest industry is highly export orientated. If we think about last year, for example, almost all paper and paperboard produced in Finland was exported, and also 80% of sawnwood. And the main destination for Finnish forestry products is Europe. On the right-hand side, you can see figure on that. So Europe and Eurozone and other Europe are the main destinations, and then Asia and especially China are important ones as well. China has increased during the recent years. About Finnish forest, Finnish GDP, about 4 to 5% has been. Forest sector share has been about 4 or 5% during the recent years. But if we think about exports, then the importance of forest sector is much more. It's about 20% export of goods. Yeah, you can go next one. Then what were the impacts of COVID-19 now in spring? I will shortly talk about that. Actually, what happened was that for some products, demand actually increased because of COVID. For example, carton board, there was an increased need for that in online shopping, for example, or need to package some food more than earlier. And there was need for tissue to hygienic products. That need for that increased as well. That was actually for a short time only. There was a peak for this demand, and now it has. Now it's more normal. But anyway, at the beginning, the impact was that there was increased demand. But then if we think about printing and writing paper, which is at the moment the most important product for Finnish forest industry and for Finland, the situation there was that their demand declined very sharply. And if you look at the picture on the right-hand side, there you can see what has been demand for graphic papers in Europe at the end of last year and then each month in spring. And well, the demand for paper has in general decreased over the years now, but what you see there in April and May was that it was really huge decrease. In May, almost 40%, demand was almost 40% less than year before. Now in summer there was some situation was better, but actually also then demand was much lower than it was year before. If we think about sawnwood, there increasing of do-it-yourself construction supported demand in Europe, even if otherwise in construction it wasn't going so well. Then what we expect to happen this year in general and next year in Finnish forest sector. This is based on our outlook for Finnish forest sector. It was published last week, and this year the message is quite clear that export volumes of forest sector products will will decline. In some products it will decline much, and in some products not so much. And as a consequence, there will be also decrease in harvest volumes, roundwood prices, employment and profitability. But next year, if global and European economies are recovering, then Finnish exports should rebound. However, there is one exception, and that is graphic paper production. There will be significant structural change happening there, and we are forecasting that this year there will be decline of 25% in export and production of graphic papers, and next year 18%. And you can see that in the figure on the right hand side, that when we look at exports of papers, for example in 2021, the level is, there's a huge difference compared to year 2010, for example, is less than half of that. And this is not only because of corona crisis. Corona crisis is making everything happening more quickly, but main reason is the declining demand for paper and reduction of production capacity in Finland and in elsewhere in Europe as well. Next, please. So corona pandemic is not, of course, not the only issue that is impacting on forest sector. And as Jyrki Katainen talked about, he talked about global megatrends, and it's true that there are several megatrends that affect forest sector as well. So corona crisis is just one issue among many other issues. For example, climate change, that will impact on how forest products are used or forests are used. Demographic changes will impact on that, how and what kind of forest products will be used. Digitalisation will have an impact. And some of these megatrends, they may strengthen because of COVID-19 pandemic, some may weaken, and some are not impacted. Some likely impacts, or the combined impacts of COVID-19 and are that online trade and will increase, and that will increase need for packaging materials. Also, there will be increase in use of online news services, which means that there will be less need for newspapers or magazines. There will be increasing hygienic needs and increasing need for tissue, and what is good for Finnish forest industry, also increased need for pulp. And there will be most likely increasing need for space and nature recreation. And I think that this spring has shown that for us. So those were kind of general impacts that will probably happen. But how big are the changes in Finnish forest sector and forest industry depends really much about the economic growth in our main export areas, and what kind of recovery those areas are facing. If there's a rapid economic recovery, then it might happen that way, that there's decline this year and production will increase next year, and after that there's more or less business as usual. But certainly there will be also in that case some exceptions. Not everything is going as earlier. There will be declining graphic paper demand. It will be steeper than before COVID crisis because consumers' behavior is changing anyway. They are now used to use online services. And there will be close of paper machines also in future, and probably more than before. Probably there will be also need for tissue paper and packaging materials that will stay higher level because of also changed consumer behavior. If there are incremental actions toward climate change mitigation, that would then support the demand for example, for wooden building materials, but that don't we know, of course. But that might be possible if we decide to use this kind of opportunity and take serious actions toward climate change. Then the other opportunity, well, of course, there are many possible bad paths, but if there's a slow economic recovery, then it would mean poor demand also for forest sector products, Finnish forest sector products in coming years. And probably decline in graphic paper demand would be deeper or quite deep. Also, even if there would be more need for packaging materials because of increased online sales, for example, or increased food packaging, it's possible that only minor share of this growth would materialize in forest industry, and that is because plastics would be cheaper packaging material. And it would be possible that private construction investments would decline, and that would lower the demand for wooden construction materials. And all that would mean that there would be also declining need for round wood, and that would have regional impacts, and there would be less indirect benefits, and so on. But of course, it's possible that kind of huge change would cause also some kind of major changes in production structure, in addition to declining paper production, and have some positive impacts as well. But that would need, for that we would need input to research and development. And it's not sure if our economy is not going well, or if it's very bad situation if we have money for research and development. But that would be needed if we want to have more value-added products. So this is actually my last slide, and we don't really know what is going to happen in the future. However, we can be quite sure that there will be some kind of structural change in forest sector, and or of course it has already happened, but there will be a structural change that will be stronger than earlier. It's not necessarily all bad. We know that printing and writing paper production will decline much, but on the other hand, there is increasing demand for packaging materials, most likely. And if there's enough research and development, there could be new products like textile fibers, biochemicals, biocomposites, and so on. But we also know that this development is slow, and it will take time. But there will be most likely new products that enter market during this decade. How much this benefits Finland remains to be seen. For us, it would be really important to get also here investments in new production plants, and that requires actually strong competitiveness. So let's see what happens. Thank you very much.